Hey there, welcome to Motorcycles and Misfits, coming to you live from the Recycle Garage in, this is a lie, sunny Santa Cruz, California. Usually sunny Santa Cruz.
Today.
It makes such a big deal when it like gets a little bit misty out. We're like, wow, it's raining. And get no sympathy from the rest of the world. But you know what? It doesn't stop the garage from happening. And even though it was a bit misty and damp today, we still had the garage going and people still came. And that's something that I am proud of. And you know who the first person to show up in the garage today was? Me. I'm Liza. That was a trick. But the second person to show up was Miss Emma. Hey, Emma.
Aloha, darlings. Here I am in Marina, California, just down the road, about 40 miles south of Santa Cruz, and it's equally dreary here, darling, but not in my heart. It's not dreary in my heart. My heart, as always, is a summer day filled with love for everyone.
Oh, my. Oh, my. And surely he would have been here if he could. It's Bagel.
Greetings from bucolic Veneta, Oregon, 600 miles to your north, where I am happy to report I am fully vaxxed and 3 to 14. I'm sorry, 4 to 13.
4 to 13. That's a pretty good number.
Yes.
Dennis doesn't know what that means. It'll be explained in a second.
Right.
Because coming up next with, is it 5 to 7?
5 or 6 to 7.
It's Douglas.
Hi.
Douglas, do you want to explain what that number means?
It is the first number is how many bikes you have running. The second number is how many bikes you own.
I like that.
Currently about 5 to 6 out of 7 right now. And I'm coming from Felton, about 6 miles north of Santa Cruz. And it is dreary here as well. And it was sprinkling, but not nearly the amount of rain that was forecast.
I thought the number was running to non-running.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Running to, owned.
Right.
Owned, running, not running.
Running
No, it's
to not running. Oh,
running to total.
Running to total works fine.
Okay.
It's all the same. I think I am 6 to 8, but I'm just 2 carb cleans away from being 8 to 8. Yeah.
On which bikes?
The 2 oldest ones, the ones from the 70s that don't get rid enough.
The Yamaha.
Yeah, the XS750 and the KZ400.
Okay.
Things you got to kickstart that are from the 70s.
Well, next week, with your blessing, I'll work on that Yamaha.
Yeah, bring it.
All right, something to do.
And also joining us from his cabin in the woods, it's Stumpy John.
What's up, everybody? This is Stumpy John from Boulder Creek, which is like 12 miles north of Santa Cruz, sort of a little bit past Douglas. So, and I am 3.5 over 3.5.
Ooh, that is well running, but not legal.
It's running.
Okay, nothing to do with it.
That's the
Yeah, 3 for 4.
It's
John,
just
darling,
running.
how was
Legal
the
schmeagle.
rain for you today in the Creek of Boulders?
How's the what? The rain?
The rain, yes.
It was raining pretty hard a few minutes ago. It kind of slowed down right now, but it's beautiful. I love the rain. We need the rain.
Emma, go ahead and pull your mic a little bit closer. Let me do volume.
In, out.
Just put it in your mouth.
There we go. Okay, thank
better.
you.
Much
That's
better.
much better. Oh my heck! And Emma, don't forget to turn on your lights, darling, so you don't.
I'll do that now while I remember.
Uh-oh.
Well, I introduced our guest with us. It's been a while since we've had a guest.
Yes.
So I thought it was time to have someone on, and I'm excited about this one. Joining us tonight is Dennis Santopietro. Oh, I said that so good.
You're so good.
So good. And Dennis, you're the founder of FixMyHog,
That is
which
true.
this is pretty cool. So we've been promoting FixMyHog here. It's something that I thought really aligned with what we do well, in that we're helping people learn how to work on their bikes.
Absolutely.
And, I remember Jesus, Doug, even when like you started coming years ago, I would insist that people would go buy like a Haynes or Climber manual, because younger people wanted to try and just look stuff up on their phone and like get these PDFs on their phone.
Mhm.
And it used to drive me nuts because you got to have the manual, something you can get greasy that you can write in the margins, like it has the bigger pictures. And then I don't know if you remember this, Doug, when Eason came, and he's a techie guy.
Mhm.
And I insisted that he have a paper manual. So he printed out all the pages on the PDF and
Like that.
bungee corded it onto his bike and rode here losing pages along the way. Just because he was like, I'm not going to buy a manual.
Well, when I first got with that CV400, I bought the climber manual, and then I went to Bike Bandit and printed out every single schematic of the blown up schematic.
There you go.
So I had the whole pamphlet of Bike Bandit, and that really helped having the blown up image. So
yeah. Oh, and joining us late from his man shed, it's Naked Jim.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
Hey.
Sorry I'm late.
Hey.
Public service announcement. Flip-flops are not OSHA approved shopwear.
No.
Watch that toe. Watch that toe.
Exactly.
Mm.
Anyway, that's all I'll say. Sorry to join late though, but cool.
You're all good. Thank you. And there's been this whole thing where like I've collected shop manuals here because I think it's very important. But then there was a point where I could start finding videos or things in forums that were more helpful. I remember I bought a tablet and then a computer just to have in the garage so we could look stuff up because that was becoming more common. So just in the like 12, 13 years, 14 years we've been doing the garage, it's changed tremendously. And now I don't even buy manuals for my bikes because I can find videos and help through forums on how to do stuff. Or I just say, hey, Emma. But you know what? The manuals and in the videos and none of that teaches you. And the thing that's valuable here is when you strip that nut or, like there's those, how do you get the thing into the thing or having to like fabricate a tool or, those little tricks about stick a block of wood here first,
Well, one stripped oil plug, will set you back hundreds that you should have bought the manual or you should have bought that torque wrench. The dollar figure on not having someone showing you or reading or watching something first, right? Just to not learn on your own. And it's expensive to learn on your own.
Well, I think we saw that at the garage today, Liza. That young man was working on was it a Weestrom?
Mhm.
He had Weestrom. And it was a forks day, right? Which is a big day. You're going to do
All
forks. Right. And the hardest part of his day was getting a little fastener off like the front fender, right, Emma?
Right.
And I've been there. Like the least thing you're worried about is this tiny little hex head fastener holding a piece of plastic on, but he was stuck on that. But watching Emma have at it with hacksaw and hammer, but that's valuable lessons. Getting old, if you work on old bikes, the tricks to getting stuff unstuck is a big deal.
Exactly. It is and it isn't. What you've got to remember is I spent a lifetime working on flat rate. And when you work on flat rate, you got to hustle. Because if you don't hustle, you don't earn money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And a stripped bolt can basically mean the difference between putting the food on the table today or going without those fabulous Manolo Blahnik heels that you want. So you gotta hustle. You gotta hustle. And so the solutions that I come up with aren't necessarily the best ones, but they're the quickest. Because we need to get ourselves out of this hole and get on with the mission, with the job. In this case, it was the fork seals. But it was a good result. I mean, it's bad when I'm reaching for the vice grips. Because that's the end of the line tool.
Right.
So when everything else is exhausted, then we reach for the vice grips. And I reached for the vice grips today. Absolutely broke my heart. But
you also reached for the hacksaw.
Oh, I love hacksaws.
Yeah, I know you do.
And a hammer. It was the triple Lindy. Hacksaw, vice grips, and a hammer to do fork seals. We're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Dennis, I want to hear more about how you came up with this idea of FixMyHog. But first, for anyone who doesn't know, can you please describe what FixMyHog is?
basically FixMyHog.com, but it would before the .com world. Really, it was DVDs.
I found that on Amazon too.
Starting in 2004, pre-YouTube, pre all that, for Harleys. I'm a Harley rider, but I'm not that smart. So everybody, and it all really started from a lie. People said I was book smart. Oh, you went to high school, you did good. You went to college, you did good. And then I opened a manual and I couldn't read it. So I'm not so smart. So back in the day, there was VHS tapes. So if there's any younger people watching or listening, there was this tape that went around in a circle and you put it in this big thing and it showed on your TV. So that, you know, I found all the VHS tapes that were out there. There was one guy, Bud, who was from Northern California somewhere, wife beater, Budweiser.
Of course his name is Bud.
You know, he did it. It was good, but it was on VHS, but it was just horrible quality. So back then I was like, wait, it's DVD world. How do we put one of these on DVD? Make it so you can go chapter by chapter. So, you know, I talked to my buddy back east and we made our first DVD. So the answer to your question is, you know, we wanted to make a video showing how to service your Harley. And that's how it all started. Remortgaged the house, made that first video, and
oh wow,
here we are almost 20 years later.
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
and I found that one, and it actually made sense, and it looked like it's still relevant today. I think the one is like 6.5 hours of how to bolt on accessories.
That's number 3, I think. So
Okay.
we started off with Softail because we didn't know if we were going to exist, you know, past that, if the government was going to take my house or not. So we launched that one. In the first month, when we launched it, it paid for itself.
Wow.
And so then we did the touring, right? So if you're Harley centric, you know, they sell more touring bikes than Softails and then more than Sportsters, right? So we're like, okay, now we'll do the touring one. And then we did the Sportster maintenance. This is strictly following your manual. We always said buy your manual year specific because the torques could be different. The fluids could be different. Everything could be different year specific. And then we did the bolt-on videos, right? So then there was, hey, what does everybody do? They rip off all this brand new shit. And I'm sorry. They rip off all this brand new stuff and they put on aftermarket exhaust, aftermarket intake. And back then it was more rejetting your carbs and carburetors, but then EFI mapping. So that was the bolt-on series that you're talking about. But that was all DVDs, you know, and thank goodness it worked and we kept going. And, you know, the gist of it was, and really, I'm not kidding about being book smart. I grew up with mechanics. My brother's a mechanic. The gentleman I started the company with, Bob LaRosa, he is a Harley mechanic, went to MMI and got his PhD at the Harley World, whatever thing. You know, he had his own place. But they always, when I lived in Connecticut, they fixed my stuff that I broke, right? Then I moved to LA and then some dude was fixing it, right? And it was more expensive. And I didn't know wow, that's a lot. And then I had an 84 FXR at the time and it wasn't maintenance anymore. Now you need a chain. Now you need tires. And now this is leaking. Now this is broke. Now the fork seals are broken. Somebody's breaking out vice grips and you know, it just gets out of control. And they charge you for the vice grips extra, by the way.
Oh yeah.
They do. I mean, but that's the evolution of it was, hey, I should be able to do this myself if I have a little visual help.
Right.
The manual is just so hard to me.
Well, it's before you sell yourself short, the manual is harder than you think to a lot of people, Dennis.
Right.
Because my world is factory manuals.
Right.
And if I was to show you the factory manual for, say, a Yamaha FZ1,
right,
and the climber manual for a Yamaha FC1, you'd think they're two different animals.
Sure.
The verbiage is different. The way the manual is written is different.
Right.
The technical terms are different. The factory manual to a lot of people is complete gobbledygook, not
Right.
just you. You
Right.
need a certain level of training before you can even begin to understand it. I mean, if you want to
Absolutely.
properly fix a bike, you really need 2 or 3 manuals, starting at the Haynes or the Climber
Right.
and going up to the genuine one. So what you're doing is really bridging that gap. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
And even somebody like yourself, who's clearly very intelligent, very familiar with reading, with writing, with expressing yourself. There are a lot of people out who even aren't to that standard.
Sure.
And having a visual representation like video, this is fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. I think it's a wonderful resource.
And it's worked. But then, like you said, though, I mean, it's exactly that. The Harley factory service manuals are written for a tech, a Harley
Yes.
tech. Right. Exactly like you said. So, you know, we wanted to bridge that gap on, okay, here's what it's saying, but here's also somebody just like you that said, I turn flat rate every day and I do this all day long. So that's who does our videos. We have pros that do it all day long, right? So they don't want to strip the bolt. They don't want to.
Right.
They advise a wrench that turns just a little bit faster because they got to get it done faster. So that's the whole thing too,
Right.
that we wanted to have pros in front of it showing, hey, don't do this because you'll screw it up, or do this because it's a little bit faster and it's easier. You're right.
And you know, bringing up that strip bolt, because obviously we've got the tools we have at Recycle Garage and then the tools I use at work.
Right.
Now, the Allen keys I have at work are basically $40 each.
Right.
Because if I use a cheap Allen key and it strips a bolt,
Right.
and I lose an hour, I'm
It's
$150
gone. Exactly.
down.
Right. Yep.
So spending $40 on one Allen key, so basically I don't waste that $150 hour, is smart to me.
Right.
But to just an owner, maybe not. So, you know, $40 for an Allen key is a lot of money. So we search for alternatives, and that's where the visuals come in.
Right.
Well, and I did some research on you,
Uh-oh.
and a lot of people may not realize.
How deep?
Well, a lot of you people may not realize that he had a first go at this that didn't succeed, because before that he used to ride a Honda, and he thought, I'm going to come up with a DVD on how to fix your Honda, and nobody bought it.
Exactly. They don't break down.
Well, I think
but everybody has to change their oil. Everybody has to maintain.
Yes.
Everybody has to maintain.
I think the thing I most admire about you and your technique, Dennis, when you work on motorbikes, when you're involved with fixing motorbikes, there's two kinds of people involved.
Right.
And then the one kind of person is, I've got all this knowledge and I'm not going to share a fucking thing with you.
True.
And I'm going to charge you, and I've got a secret. You can't have my secret because my secret's valuable.
Right.
Person number one. And then the other kind of person, which you certainly fit into, and I like to see that I fit into, even though if everybody knew how to fix everything on their bike, I'd be out of work.
Right.
If you have knowledge, you share it. You share it. And the industry and the sport becomes stronger because we
For
share
everybody. Exactly. And that's the text that we've been going off after. You know, we just did a video series. We've mainly focused from Evolution 84 forward.
Right.
So Evolution a little bit, more twin cam because it's such a big year group. And now the M8. But we just did a small, we just shot it finally last week on knuckleheads. And then we'll do pinheads. But it's finding that person that's willing to share, but it's also becoming a little bit of a lost art, right?
Right.
So where is that person that still knows a bit, that wants to share it, that you can capture this before it's literally gone? Because a lot of, I'm sure on other motorcycles, and I'm not hip to a lot of other motorcycles, but a lot is parts changing, right? Oh, this doesn't work, so just change it. So we're trying to find the people that still fix shit, right? That still fix stuff and get it done. Right.
Every single one of my peers that I've worked with, that I trained under, that I have spent my career with, has either retired,
right,
or shuffled off their mortal coil and gone to motorbike heaven.
Right.
And the only reason that I'm still doing this, I mean, I'm 60, so I'm really very, very close to retirement myself. But when I was trained at 16, the guy who was training me was in his 40s. So, and he really just took me under his wing,
right,
and taught me everything he knew that he'd learnt in the 50s.
Right.
So I had this kind of weird sort of ancient knowledge that was instilled in me from a young age. But you're absolutely right. Mechanicking is a lost art.
Right.
And not everybody's willing to get their hands dirty. Once in a while's fine, but all day, every day, not too sure about that one.
Well, I'm curious in learning more about how extensive your library is, because I mean, if you're thinking how many different models of bikes you covered, how many different parts of that bike, I mean, how big is this library? How have you?
I think we're probably 800 videos over 125 hours of content. So we obviously went from DVD, and then in 2012, this all goes credit to my wife as well, that, she's an accountant. When I started the company, we bought a house, we got engaged, we had a baby. And I said, you sure you want to do this? And she said, yes. So we brought the DVD world as far as we could. And then all of a sudden DVDs were like useless, right?
Yeah.
So in 2012, the company TN Marketing approached me and said, hey, we want to buy your company. Just behind that, it was either I remortgage the house again and build an online membership, which everybody's used to now, right? Netflix, Amazon, whatever the hell it is, because DVDs were on such a decline. So that was the next evolution to get this library that we had onto a membership platform, which we are now on the website. We still sell DVDs, but the answer to your question is 800 plus videos, 120, 25 hours of content. But then how do you break it down, right? So we broke it down by maintenance. We did the maintenance by model group: touring, Softail, Dyna, Sportster. And then we did your basic upgrades, which was the bolt-on stuff you were talking about before. Beyond basic maintenance, when it's not, you don't change your belt all the time. So that falls into beyond basic, right? So then we show people how to change their belt. So it's all model based, but that's also, we wouldn't be able to do every single model every single year. And it just goes back to the manual. You've got to have the manual for your specs for everything. So it all turns back to that. But then, we started, okay, what if we do a separate project on carburetors? So we do a full carburetor video series. Handlebars, everybody's switching out their handlebars. We have a whole 10 hours or more on handlebar swapping. A whole frame swap, taking out a twin cam engine out of a bike. So we have all these subsection categories that are project specific. We did now everybody wants to buy a used bike and make it cool or make it. So we bought an old Sportster and we turned it into a cafe racer. Oh. So that's a video project. So we have these subsections of multi-hour projects. And the thing is they're not easy bake oven, right? You're not, oh, hey, we're going to do this. And you pull it out of the oven, it's done. It's step by step by step. And that's why they're so long. You're like 10 hours of carburetor, really? But if you do Harley stock and then you do S&S or something, so there's slight differences, but there's plenty to do.
And it seems to me like there's so much potential. There's so much you can do. Absolutely. I mean, where do you stop? I assume, are you looking at doing other brands?
Well, it's, where do you stop? So we just shot the knuckle, right? So we're going to, but that's a small year group, right? And that's a super focused enthusiast, right? So we do the knuckle, we do the pan, we do the shovel. So we're going to eventually cover all years of Harley. But then it's also volume though. you know, so we haven't done Indian yet because they don't sell enough bikes where there's not enough people to sell a membership to. Like you said, Hondas don't break down, so that's not going to happen.
Well, that's not entirely true.
So, you know, we could branch out to other brands, but you know, we have this super focused niche that we've been focused on since 04. You know, we have, I don't know, 200,000 people in our weekly newsletter. We have, you know, we spend a lot on advertising to get in front of people. So we have this this group that we cater to, and it works for them and it works for us so far.
Okay, I'm going to say this without trying to sound insulting, but
I'll take it either way.
It's hard.
Here it comes.
No, not to you.
It's going to be insulting.
I try not to, but it seems to me that the Harley crowd is the best potential for people who need that extra help and guidance to work on their bikes, because I know so many Harley owners who won't touch it. They don't even think of it. They'll take it to the shop. Oh, I needed to change out my mirrors, or, you know, something like that. I'm like, what? You know, or change out their handlebars. Right. And I'm always confused. And the shop rates is so expensive. But on the one hand, you're paying that much for a bike. You're uncomfortable doing the work. I get it, because, you know, I've bought expensive bikes that I'm like, I don't want to touch it. Right. But I think that it's a lot easier than people think, and they should be doing. And that's the thing we stress at the garage. You should know more about your bike. You should be the one
makes it a better experience. Absolutely.
You know,
exactly.
The sad reality is, if you know how to change the oil on your bike and are willing to do it,
right,
and you know how to check the tire pressures on your bike and actually do it weekly, Liza, you're 90% ahead of most people on the road.
And safer by far.
By far. The simple act of, at my shop, I've got little pen tire gauges.
Yeah.
I give them out to people.
Yeah.
As a gift. Here's a gift for visiting me today.
It's the number one abused thing that we see is just not having the, and that's a daily rider thing. When you go out, there's hands up. I'm being quiet now. I see
Emma.
No. But I was doing
3331. You're welcome.
Yeah, there you go.
Ooh.
On the African Twin, I checked it today.
I want to say,
coincidentally, my IQ.
I was going to say, Liza has those high quality Bang Bong products that you screw onto your valve stem that Bluetooths the pressure to your phone.
Yeah, and let your tires down overnight. I mean,
I remember the time it went from like 33 to 2 in about a second.
But you know, the point is this: is just the simple act of changing the oil. It's very, very easy. And, you know, there is, you actually kind of summed it up, Liza. There is this kind of almost like fear. I've just dropped 30 large on a Harley SVO. I'm scared to even touch it. Right. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, even now, after 43 years of doing this, occasionally I'll get a bike on my bench and I'll just crap my pants because it's so valuable, like the Eagle Eye. You know, I've got a $125,000 motorcycle on my ramp right now, Dennis. It's scaring me to death.
I'm wincing already.
Yeah, and I've been having a conversation with a charming French gentleman who's going to supply me parts to actually repair it, because he's the only one in the world who's got any.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
You know, and you know what he wants for them? What the hell he can get.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
going back to what you mentioned about the people that don't want to touch it. That's probably about 30% of our business, is that they're willing to pay $110 an hour or whatever it is. But there's that percentage of our members that just want to know what they're paying for, and they get to see it through our videos, because there's not a window at the dealer, the cookie shop, right? You can't watch the baker bake. They don't want you to. So, you know, a lot of people just want to say, okay, this went in for a $600 oil change. What exactly did they do? Oh, okay, this is, you know, and also to get it back and understand that if it was done correctly and what you should look for, if it wasn't, you know, it's just, that's probably about 30% of our business right there. Yeah.
And clarity is everything. You know, when I set up my own shop, and it's a very exciting time for me because I'm just in the process of opening my first very own shop.
Nice.
But thank you. The way I've set it up, and it's quite deliberate, there is no wall between where I work on your bike and you actually walk up. It's an entire open, you walk up to the counter and you can't go any further because the insurance won't let you back there.
Right.
But the counter's waist height. And you can sit at the counter and watch me lay my hands on your bike.
Right.
And it's quite deliberate. If you want to drop it off and go and hang out in Monterey at the aquarium, you can do that too.
Right.
However, if Emma rolls your bike into the bathroom and pulls the air filter out, beware.
And I mean, Dennis won't know this, but Liza will come up with this lie that in the past I have peed in somebody's airbox and said, "You've got a rodent problem. This bike is only worth $300 and I'm doing you a favor by giving you that." And it's all complete lies. It was actually $200. But clarity is absolutely everything. It's all distills down to the same thing. Your way of thinking, my way of thinking. It's sharing this knowledge. It's being very open with what you know and what you're prepared to do. I think what you're doing is the most marvelous thing.
But I'm sorry, but dead on with that. I mean, so Harley Davidson thrives on the aftermarket world, right?
Yes.
Who makes their product better, faster, right? If it's a transmission company like Baker or somebody else, because aftermarket companies move faster, right? They're more nimble and they could fix not the crap, the things that are not quite right with a production bike. So Harley does enjoy that, but it also makes the enthusiast ride more. You ride more, there's more wear on your bike, there's more consumables, you're going to buy another t-shirt, whatever it is.
Right.
It's part of the enthusiast world to enjoy it more. And in wrenching, to me, has always brought out a little bit more pride of ownership.
Yes.
And a little bit more enjoyment of the game. And if you're going more than a couple hundred miles and that 10 millimeter wrench is always in my pocket because it's probably just the battery cable, you know, whatever that is, just to keep you riding and enjoying it, you know. But you got to know that and when people learn that, they keep going and they keep buying and they buy that next model, or they enjoy it so much they sell it after a year and buy a brand new one at $30K or $125,000 or whatever it is, because they're into it. They love it, you know?
Yeah.
So I've got some questions for you. We help people fix bikes in the garage, but I always say we don't teach repair or maintenance so much as we teach tools and how to use them and how to choose the right tool. So I'm wondering, in your videos, how much of that comes in about how to, you know, get a stuck bolt out, or how to tell which type of wrench or screwdriver to use, that kind of stuff?
So I have been called a tool before, and not the best one, but that it's instrumental, right? So, you know, you use a wobble head here because if you try and jam it in, you'll break something, you know. So that's the biggest part of it, is the right tools. And, you know, so if you're not a mechanic, if you're not spinning wrenches every day and you're not buying whatever brand, the best, right? You could still buy the next one down and not go to Harbor Freight and be mad when you break something. So it's tool education. The right tool for the right job makes the job go faster, safer, and you don't break stuff. When you break stuff, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, it's expensive, and the cost to fix a strip drain plug or a spark plug, you got to redo the head, you know, whatever it is expensive when you don't use the right tool. Torque wrenches is huge, right? If you're a novice and you think you're just going to knock it down and I'm going to give it one more, and that one more just blows the whole thing, and now you're out a couple $100 because you didn't buy a good $50, $60 torque wrench. So that's a big part of it.
Well, speaking as a knowledge, it's expensive. Well, speaking as a novice, right? Where it's expensive is in the emotional toll.
Yeah,
dude, you pay heavy when you're like, I'm going to do an oil change, and you change you do the oil, you take the filter out, you're putting the cover for the oil filter back on, and you snap a bolt.
Yep.
You're like, it was a half an hour oil change. Now I don't know what I'm going to do. So yeah, totally.
Right. And you get discouraged though, too, right? And then I don't want to do it anymore. This sucks. I can't believe this, right?
You're waiting 10 days for a part.
Right.
You're not writing.
Right.
And do you, how much do you help like diagnosing problems? Because that's a whole nother thing. How does somebody know how to diagnose?
Right. Well, troubleshooting on a Harley is relatively easy depending on where you get into year groups, right? But in the manual, there's such a good troubleshooting area, and we go through a lot of that. Now with diagnostics, you can read your trouble codes. That's going to point you into a certain direction. That alone, to do your own troubleshooting, is what? It's $105, right? To bring it into not even time to get it to somebody to look at it. That's $105 right there if you know what you're doing, and you didn't change out the whatever sensor. And that was a $200 sensor, and that wasn't it because you didn't diagnose it correctly. So a lot of it is troubleshooting, and we do teach that as well.
And so, as a Harley person, how do you feel about the live wire and the Pan America?
Awesome. And, where does everything go? It's got to go forward. We're going backwards in some of the videos we're doing now. We just told you guys we're doing the knucklehead videos and the pans. We'll cover them all. Live wire is going to be a little tough for us because it's a battery and a belt. So, there's going to be some maintenance, but, and I don't know what does the bolt-on world of that look like? Not much, but the Pan American looks cool. There's a lot of stuff that people are going to rip off and put on that. And anytime they change the engine and the format, and if it catches enough motion, it's good for us, right? If there's enough asses in the seat, that's a good demographic for us, and we'll do it. I mean, if we know that, and it's good that they're a public traded company because we know, okay, on the line item, it says they're going to make 100,000 Pan Americans this year, and every year for next, we'll do a video because we know that people are into it. And it'll make sense. So I do like them that they're moving forward, and it's glad they're not a t-shirt company that makes motorcycles. And they're keeping it real to a point. I haven't ridden any of the newer stuff, but I'd like to. It looks cool. It sounds cool.
Yeah, some of us are going to go ride the Pan American in a couple.
Cool.
Couple weeks, and I'm
awesome.
Curious about it.
And I'm kind of on the fence about what's going to happen with the accessories for the live wire. I think it's going to be as customized as any other Harley, but in a very different way, because the demographic of who buys it is going to be different.
Sure.
But I think if Harley's shrewd, which I believe they are, I've seen them capable of exactly the opposite, but I've seen them capable of very, very shrewd moves in the past few years. They will offer a range of very, very high-tech accessories.
Sure.
And I drove up to the Bay Area yesterday chasing parts for a motorcycle, and I was trucking along in the number 2 lane doing about 90, which I usually do, and this Tesla
allegedly
just came howling past me, and it was a Tesla that had been slammed. It had got rims on it. It had got and it looked bitching.
Sure.
It was done very, very tastefully. He'd taken a couple of inches out of it. He'd got really nice bronze offset wheels on it. It looked amazing. So kind of techie electric vehicles that are initially you think of as being a little bit stodgy, they can be fun and customizable. And I see the same fate for the Livewire. I think it is going to be customized and extensively, but not necessarily in the ways that we're used to dealing with the internal combustion engine.
Sure.
Well,
And, I'm sorry. And like you said, I don't know if most Harley riders are going to try and lose a couple inches. They're going to try and gain a couple inches, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I hope so. And I hope, but I've not laid my hands on a live wire to know that it's going to be more than a fairing, or how do you increase performance, right? Is it a bigger battery, or what can you monkey with yourself to make it go a little bit faster?
We know secrets.
There you go. I like that. Just
Yes.
gonna.
We know
play
people who can do things.
That's right.
But my
Eagle side covers.
yes, my
Raked out front
favorite.
end.
There
Yes.
you go. Rake it out.
All these things. My favorite part of the dealer kit, and I don't know what, I'm sure Dennis has heard this. My favorite part of the dealer kit. So if you want to sell live wires, it's a choice. They say, well, do you want to sell live wires? And you say yes. And so they provide you with this whole kit. It's almost like an annex for your dealership.
Right.
But my favorite part of that kit is the boat hook. And they give you this 15-foot long fiberglass boat hook.
Right.
So if the
This is
tech is
true.
being electrocuted, you can pull him off the bike with this boat hook. I think it's absolutely marvelous. Get the boat hook! Fred's being burnt to a crisp. I absolutely love it.
Throw him a rubber tire. Help
Exactly.
him. Help him. He's dying.
Put your Wellington boots on and get the boat hook.
Well, Dennis, I think this is as perfect opportunity as any. When we have guests like yourself who are very knowledgeable and successful, I like to give them some unsolicited advice.
Oh,
Ooh,
boy.
good.
There you go.
Yes.
Well, let me get my pen. I got it. I'm ready.
And not having seen all of your videos, but I'm just going to take a wild guess here. Are you aware of the fastest growing segment of new riders?
Women and Latinos?
Yes, women.
Yeah.
And also, I just find in general that women need a little bit more confidence in wrenching and a little more instruction. And I'm wondering if you are catering to that yet, and if you have women mechanics who are doing some of these videos.
We haven't yet, and we've reached out to a few, and hopefully that's going to happen. But the cool part about ladies is learn faster and not afraid, especially with wrenching.
Yes.
It's funny. So we started this company in 2004, and we used to go to Hollister every year, right?
Oh yeah.
So
we're
that's
right near there.
right. So Hollister, and I'm down in San Diego, but we used to go Hollister, and you have the every machismo black shirt in the world, right? Walking down. So the first year we went, everybody walked by and say, no, I don't need that. I wrench on my own bike. Oh, that's stupid, right? And then my wife the next year said, honey, let's make a banner that says, hey, you in the black shirt, stop here. and three guys would walk by, but one guy would come back and say, oh, can I get that DVD? So the guys for Harley riders, what we've noticed over the years, especially at rallies when we were selling DVDs, there's this, you don't want to admit that you don't know kind of thing. But back to the ladies will jump right in. They learn faster. I'm glad it's a growing segment, and I think we will eventually have a lady tech. Yes.
I was at the Hollister 2004 and got a tattoo there. And I'm like, I wonder, did I talk to you? No, I was wearing a blue shirt.
Ah, damn it.
Well,
I would have noticed you. You would have stood out in the crowd.
Well, actually, funny story is I was on my custom chopper that I had built. It was a panhead, a Santee frame, Chica frame, and a Springer front end 6-over, beautifully painted. And I don't dress the part.
Right.
And when I was going to get on my bike, and there were some people taking pictures, and I'm like, wow, that's a nice bike. And I was like, thanks. And they looked at me and went, yeah, right. In my sneakers and my,
right.
I never dressed
Good
the part.
Right.
Yeah, I always like not looking like the chopper rider on a really badass chopper.
Right.
But I was just going to suggest, you know, if you do need a female mechanic who does some videos, you know that people are fascinated to anyone with a British accent.
Yes, that is
Pay
true.
more attention.
Well,
Wrong.
it makes me sound far more intelligent than I actually am. I mean,
It conveys a sense
Jim,
of authority.
You must know what he's talking about.
See, she's even got her own sticker.
I was actually
Love it.
I was going to send you, Liza. Oh, here we are. I'm sending you a picture which you can share on the screen of you actually on your custom chopper.
Ooh.
And I've just said, I've just sent it via Messenger, and I think Liza should share it on the screen right now.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not set
I
up
don't
for
think
sure.
anybody else.
Oh no,
here-
you can do this, Liza.
Oh,
Nobody else here has had the pleasure of actually hearing this bike, though.
Is this picture
Well, you're
safe
actually-
for work?
You're actually going to see Liza
Is this safe for
right
work?
now. No, it's fine. It's fine. Riding her custom framed Santi chopper. Are you able to share this?
yeah. Well, not on. Well, I'll just hold it up to the camera. There we go.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah.
Delivering candy in the world of Oz.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, this is not.
She's very proud.
You're not
of
talking
that
about the
one.
chopper that you sold, right, Liza? The blue one?
Yeah, the blue one.
Oh, this.
There's
I
going to
couldn't
be
see
some
the photo
Santi
'cause you
chopper
went
frame
small.
people very mad at
No,
you.
no. But yeah, if you are looking for some female mechanic, I do highly recommend Emma. She's very good on screen.
We will
but
be
that's-
in touch.
Airbox.
We will
Watch
be-
the airbox.
Yeah, no, please
Don't
be
let her
in
near
touch
your
with me.
airbox.
Watch the airbox.
Just don't pee in my lunchbox. I mean, earbox.
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
Poop in your
they
lunchbox.
say actually it's full of nutrition. But nevertheless, education. When I get a little more established, because as you can imagine, I've been writing some fairly big checks lately.
Sure.
Education is really a key of how I want to carry on with my shop. But I think we should talk.
Absolutely. Yes.
And whether we can set up something here or actually send a camera crew up to Monterey and do.
We would probably come to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And funnily enough, you know, you were talking about the aftermarket stuff. I went through a phase of putting the S&S gear drives on twin cams. I did a lot of
Absolutely.
them. And
Yeah,
they all
because-
kind of came in together. You know,
Yeah.
all these twin cams had come in just making this god-awful noise.
Well, they were blown up because of the bad ones from
Right.
99 to 06. That's a lot of bad ones.
And, you know, it's when they come in making that bloody awful noise,
Yeah.
and you say, yes, it's going to cost this to fix, but if you want to put a gear drive in it, yes, it appears to be eye-wateringly expensive.
It's so much
But-
better. Right.
That's the end of that, and you're going to get a nice little whine off it
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
And it was quite an easy sell, actually, but to the people who are the long-term owners.
Right.
These were the guys who've had their bikes for 10 years and are going to have them for another 20
Right.
and spending however many, I can't even remember how many thousand it was. I think we were doing the gear drive. The cost was like, give or take 2,000.
Sure.
And then we
just,
put
just,
about
for just for the kit. from
Yeah,
the-
just for the
yeah,
kit. But it's
yeah.
an absolutely gorgeous thing.
Yeah, as long
Everything's
as-
like blue anodized.
Right. as long as they're in spec, that's a great service item. But then, you know, back to troubleshooting, right?
Yeah.
So, and we tell people, so you want to buy a used motorcycle, and here's this 2002 Dyna or Softail or whatever it is, that year group. You know, you have to be aware of that major ticking time bomb. You know, that's in those the twin cam chain tensioners.
Yes.
So, you know, but all somebody has to do is take off the cam cover, and you could see the front one. You could do a dental mirror, and you could see the back one. But hey, man, I just got this bike for $3,000. What a deal! And then it's ready to blow, or it's actually
Yeah.
junk already. So that's a big part of troubleshooting, or showing, we have buyer's guide, just telling people, hey, for these year groups, you have to understand that. And then a fix is a $2,000 kit. And if you don't want to do it yourself, it's $100 an hour for somebody to do it for you.
Right.
But if you could build that into the price, it could be worth it. Right.
Funnily enough, the second love of my life, well, I've actually got motorcycles, cats, and Jaguars. And Jaguar, right around the same time as Harley, had a terrible problem with the cam chain tensioners.
Oh.
And it did exactly the same as the twin cam. It wasn't the chains themselves, it was the tensioner.
Right.
Was breaking up. And it's $1,000 fix. You can slice it and dice it any way you want, but the kit and the fitting was $1,000.
Right.
You pull the radiator, you pull the front off the engine, you put the cam chains in, you put the tensioners in. If you do it yourself, it's like $400. If you pay a tech, it's like $1,000.
Yeah, but if you don't, it's a useless car.
But the thing is,
motorcycle.
You'd factor that in to the cost of the car.
Correct.
You'd say, okay, here's this 2001 XJ8, and you call up, hello, 2001. Have you had it from new? Yes. Have you had this chains done yet? No. What's that? Right. So now you're going to spend $1,000 on it.
Right.
Before you do anything.
I thought those cars just caught on fire because of electrical issues.
They can.
They can.
No, it's part of the excitement of owning one, darling.
You just don't know?
Yeah. My old 1970s Jag, I actually relabeled the air conditioning Adventure Time. Because when you press the thing button, it was Adventure Time. You never knew what was going to happen. And the worst thing, I had a gentleman sitting next to me who I really wanted to impress. And I said, this is a luxury car, it's got air conditioning and everything. And I pressed the air conditioner and these blue sparks flew out of the air conditioning vent and set his shirt on fire. So that was the end of that, really.
Or you push on the air conditioner. That's super cold. Look at the smoke coming out.
Yeah, look at the smoke.
That must be freezing.
Exactly. So Harley weren't the only ones with cam chain problems.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, Dennis, I got another question for you.
Uh-oh.
For Harley riders who maybe are not ones to do their own maintenance, but want to get into it, what are 3 tasks that you would say are easier than they thought they would be? What are 3 tasks on a Harley that you would say, really, you can do this on your own?
Well, and the easiest is the $600 fluid change. So that's your oil, primary, transmission on most bikes. That alone is going to save you a decent amount of money, time going back and forth to the dealer. Yeah. It's a great, saver of engine, and you're supposed to do it before you storage or after storage. So if you're doing that alone, that's going to save you what, $400 a year?
Right.
So just that, but then an air cleaner. If you put in an aftermarket cleanable air intake cleaner, filter, and you clean it every year, depending on your riding conditions, that's huge. I know you don't like tire pressures, but tire pressures, that is, is because when you only got that rubber on the road, right, you have those 2 touch points. That's huge, but also, I don't know, Harleys have these weird patterns depending on the year. And, and then a lot of people don't ride all the time, and the tires get a little weird. So tires, you can do your own fluids, you can do your air intake. So really the list of basics is basic if you give it a try. And like so many people that detail their bike, they wash their bike, they check it and make sure it's not dinged or dented. To do that little bit of service is huge. And it's, once again, it goes back to enjoying your motorcycle more, a sense of pride in doing it yourself, and they're easy. If you watch it being done, which we can provide, I don't want to ever say that, maybe in 2004 we were the only company that had it on DVD. But before YouTube and all that, we definitely were, right? But now you can do, I don't fix my toilet without going on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't do anything. You know what? I just redid the stairs in my house and I watched 400 YouTube videos. So it's building your resource base, the right tools, your manual, climber or other. If you can get the factory service manual, great, but Haynes or climber, the right tools, and just build that resource base so you have it at your fingertips. No matter if it's us or whatever, however you do it, that's huge. Those are the easiest things to do.
Yeah. So like Emma, like you said, a fluid change.
Yes.
How much would you charge somebody to bring in their Harley for like their yearly fluid change, belt tension, that kind of
Well,
stuff?
no, Dennis is absolutely right. I mean, it's for $500. It's $500 to $600
Okay.
because you don't just change the oil and get them out.
Right. There's a checkpoint list. There's many.
There's a
checkpoints,
checkpoint,
right? Exactly.
and you start at the front and work your way back. And I'll talk through it right now because it's very quick to start. What I tend to do is I'll start at the top. The bike is on my ramp and I haven't jacked it up yet. So I'm working high on the bike. And that basically means the front brake fluid gets checked, maybe flushed, and the clutch perch and exposed bit of the cable gets lubed. That's it. Now the bike goes up. And now I'm checking steering head bearings, fork seals, wheel bearings, tire pressures, brake pads. Working back, you do the 3 of the oil change and just laying your hands on things like gear shifters, footrests, shit that can fall off.
And shit falls off on Harleys.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
And just working your way back and making sure everything's tight.
Right.
To do it properly, it's a couple of hours.
It's
To
the
do
time.
it properly and
Exactly.
thoroughly.
Right.
And it's about $200 in parts because I only use the best quality oil.
Right.
So I'm going to use a genuine filter. I'm going to use the best quality oil, all the best quality lubes, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it's like 300 odd bucks in labor, a couple $100 in parts, boom, they're down the road. But there's nothing that is so difficult
Right.
that just the average person can do it.
Especially the checking point. That's the hugest thing. Is
You
the
got it.
safety.
Just
Yeah.
check.
Yeah.
2 things. One thing, big up for Harley Davidson. The thing I like the most about big Harleys is, and they're very cleverly designed, they're flat underneath. And so if you need to get the back wheel off one, you can slide a flat stand and jack them up.
Right.
Big plus. I will never fucking forgive Harley Davidson for dropping my favorite bike, which was the Super Glide. And I will never understand why they dropped the Super Glide.
Right.
I will never forgive you, Harley Davidson. Never.
Oh,
Because
simmer down now.
The Super Glide is a wonderful machine.
So, and I just want to add, I think one of the tasks that's easier than people think, replacing your clutch.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
That is something that people think is a major thing, that it's not that hard when you have, and that is exactly the type of thing where you want to have something that's telling you, now you got to remove this clip, and now you got to do this
Right.
or use this tool here.
And this is a reverse thread, so don't go animal the wrong way and
Exactly.
break it.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly, depending on the year, because some are reverse and some are normal thread on the clutch nut. Exactly that. I mean, because if you love your bike and you're putting miles on it, the clutch plates are going to go, and it is relatively easy to do if you watch it and have the proper resources. Right.
So, Douglas, we were just saying all these things that you can do on there and save money. How much do you think a yearly premium membership is to FixMyHog? What do you think that's worth?
What I think that's worth.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just be pulling a number out of my ass.
Yeah.
For a year.
Can you wash it off?
Let me ask you this.
No, this is Doug's best work.
Dennis.
Yes, sir.
you charge an annual membership, or can you do a monthly as well?
You can do monthly. The best bang for the
Best
buck
bet.
is-
Okay, I'm gonna guess 300 a year.
That's a pretty good guess.
I
All
would
right.
like you to be our new marketing manager. Please.
Dennis, you want to say how much it costs for a yearly membership?
You know, so when I started the videos, I priced the videos at 30, the DVDs back in 04 at $39.99. Why? Because at the time, an hour labor rate was 80. I always wanted to be about half the labor rate, right? So I think a yearly membership is around $69 now, maybe 70. But we have all these deals, and the advertisement we do with you guys, there's a deal to do it. But I mean, it's 105 for somebody to tell you what's wrong with your bike. So 70, you're already there. It's
Now, Doug, would
Yeah.
you be impressed if I told you that if you go to go.fixmyhog.com/misfits, that you could get a yearly membership for $3?
What?
I
That's
would be very
insane.
surprised. That is insane.
How am I going to get paid?
Oh, Guinness.
I'm like, are you sure this isn't a typo?
There's no more paycheck for me.
No, it's complete madness. I tell you,
$3.
madness.
Yeah,
And I just want to repeat that for anyone. It's go.fixmyhog.com/misfits. And if you go there, type that in, you can sign up, get a membership for $3.
And I'll tell you the reason,
Yeah.
though. Sorry to cut you off. The reason
Yeah.
we do that is if somebody signs up for the year for $3, we just want to introduce people to it, right? We're lucky enough to be able to basically eat the 1 year, right? But if somebody that appreciates, like Douglas just said, oh, this is worth 300, and I just got it for $3, so the 70 the next year is no brainer. And that's the enthusiast that we're after. We're not after the person that's just like, oh, I want this for $3 for the rest of my life, because, you know, it doesn't make sense. You know, but we're confident enough, and the model has worked for us, that it's a great introductory price, and people that really are into it stay with us for years. We have members that have been online. We've started our online membership in 2012, and we have people that have been with us since then, every year.
That's cool.
Thank you.
It must be working for him, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think what you're doing is great. And as much as I want to say, you need this for Honda and Kawasaki and all the things, I'm like, other than doing like some special, like on the KLR 650, here's how you change the doohickey. Like, there's not a lot to do, or a lot of it would be universal, how to change out your bars or how to lube your cables. Basic, it transfers across all things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And maintenance is the key. But it's the demographic number, right? How many bikes are out there? Is somebody growling? Is that me?
There's a cat purring in a
Oh,
Douglas's
that's my cat. Can you guys hear that?
Yes.
Sorry.
That was awesome.
This is Bacon Pancakes.
I thought I had a sandwich before I came on.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you also for coming on and sharing the story. I can only imagine that, like, if your job is to sit there and think of more videos and more bikes, like, there's so much potential. Like, the job never ends.
Well, yeah, I think there always will be work for us, and that's a good thing. And it just depends on the enthusiast, and like everything else, you know. And we started in 04, and then we lost our shirt to a point in 08 when, you know, it just, where's the bikes and who's riding, and we follow that wave as well. And what you guys do with your co-op garage, and we're working, you had Steve Noble on a couple weeks ago. He's working with us now with Skidmark Garage.
Yep.
We used to have one in San Diego, and I think it's gone now, but that is the best thing in the world to have for people, to have that resource to go in and be able to put the bike up on a lift and do it yourself if you can, right? But hey, I don't have a lift, or I don't have this tool, or I don't have that. Let me go to the co-op, I'll get it done. Or while you're there, to have all you guys as resources, or whoever's there, to say, hey, this does need the vice grip at this point. This does need the hacksaw, because otherwise it's going to take you 3 more hours, and you're going to get really pissed, and you're not going to want to do it again. Like, you know, then you're going to get discouraged.
When in doubt, get a bigger hammer.
Right.
Right.
And so all the bike shops and the bike mechanics out there who are like, oh, you guys are putting us out of business, and, you know, only a qualified mechanic should be working on a bike. Guess what, guys? Fuck every one of you. There's room for everyone in this big soap opera of motorcycling.
Absolutely.
And the more we share and the more that we bring one another into everything, the stronger we are as a whole. I haven't lost a single customer by explaining what I do and showing what I do and sharing what I know. And I've probably gained 100.
Because you share that trust, you share your knowledge, and people are so respectful of that, but also know, okay, I'm going to do my fluids now, but I'm going to bring it to you for the tougher stuff that I still don't want to do. Or when
that reminds me.
When I screw up.
Thank you. I've got to go for a colonoscopy this week, talking about my fluids.
Wait, do you have a video for that?
We do have a couple snake videos, but
extra points.
Does it come with sedation?
Racing car noises.
Oh, you'll be making racing car noises, that's for sure.
That's the wrong pipe.
You might be running a little rich for a couple of days.
But no, Dennis, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for doing what you do. I think it's absolutely marvelous. My only disappointment, of course, is you told us how great your wife is, and we didn't have an opportunity to meet her.
So my lovely lady is having a milestone birthday. I won't say whichever because there would be consequences. So
18? She just turned 18? Is that what happened?
Finally, now I could get rid of the cops patrolling me. So what we've been doing with this bug thing that's been going around, we were doing all these mini parties. So she has a week long of parties, and you're lucky I'm not half in the bag right now because we had a little event last night and an event today and many events. So she's finishing out the event right now, and but without her though, none of this would happen because not many people would say house, kid, marriage, start a new company. And I worked in the GIS mapping world before, right? I had like a decent job and it was all was good. And you know, kudos to my wife, Simona Santopietro. Happy birthday, honey, because without you, 20 years of FixMyHog wouldn't happen. Salute.
And I have one last question for you, and it's one that we ask all of our guests that I haven't prepared you for.
Oh my.
213? 213, is that the right number?
So I will tell you that this is an inappropriate question. We'll prepare you for that. But as somebody who has gained a lot of knowledge of motorcycles, and we know that you're specifically Harley mostly, so I'm curious to know the answer to this.
I have a Vespa as well.
Ooh,
yes.
Okay, you just won Bagel's heart.
I saw them back there.
Here's a question, and we ask all of our guests this. I'm going to ask you the question, then I'll explain it. So the question is, what is your up the butt bike? Okay. And an up the butt bike is a bike that you look at and you go, I take it up the butt for that. Like everybody's got that bike. I'll show you. Mine is right behind me. It is a Harley Davidson. It is the VR1000.
Oh, there you go.
Race bike. That to me, that is an up the butt bike. Oh, I would take it up the butt for that.
Butt worthy.
That is a butt worthy bike. Sorry about the term, but it's just something that like, it's like everybody has a bike you put up here. Like,
sure. Or
curious.
Or up here.
Curious.
Emma will let you know.
What is your up the butt bike?
So similar to what you were talking about before, there's a 48 panhead that is in my immediate grasp that would be my up the butt bike. It's just such a, and it's fully stock. It's beautiful.
That's the rarest.
It's got all the right parts. It hasn't been bastardized. It hasn't been chopped. It's pretty sweet. And I think that's the one for me.
That is a butt-worthy bike. I
That
agree.
is a butt-worthy bike.
I think he's getting a tear in his eye.
You see it?
I think he's getting a tear coming out.
Oh my
there.
God!
I don't know.
It's dusty over here.
I thought he was clenching. That's what I thought was happening. Well, Dennis, again, I want to thank you for coming on. We're gonna let you go because we just rambled on for hours.
I appreciate what you guys do. I mean, this is near and dear to my heart too. For us, I'll leave you with this: is we're always trying to preserve the knowledge that's slipping away. To me, when I started a business, it was to pay my bills, right? It was to pay the mortgage. There is that element too. But now there's a preservation part of it, especially in the Harley marketplace. So what you guys are doing, what co-ops are doing, people sharing the knowledge and to give a crap to share it and give it away is huge. And I've been a fan of your guys for a while. And
thank you.
I know our co-op was here and it's gone, but every community should have one because that's the best way for all riders to get together. It doesn't really matter what the wheels are. Right.
And Dennis, please stay in touch with the
Misfits.
I fully expect to reach out to you within a year and maybe do a collaboration with some maintenance stuff, basic maintenance stuff.
Sure.
Or maybe something that isn't a Harley.
Right.
Maybe something English. How about that?
Why not? Why not? We made a fake cafe racer out of a Sportster. We can make a real one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Tra-la-la.
No, go ahead.
No, I did have a 77 Triumph for a little while. I thought it was cool and could kick it.
So you know all about bad electrics.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. In odd carburetors.
Yes.
Nice.
Whenever people ask me, I've been here now since 1994, and occasionally people will still ask me, well, how do you like America? Do you like Americans? And I say,
no.
Wouldn't that be something if I say, no, you're all a bunch of bastards.
No.
Wanker.
I always say, I love Americans. Everyone is so kind to me. Even the ones who bought English products.
I'm going to mute you while you do that, Jim. No, and I think the reason too that I really connected with what you guys are doing is what we have in common at the core is we are empowering people.
Yes,
absolutely.
And that's really what it's about. It's empowering people through teaching, through guidance, through just helping them.
Absolutely.
So big thanks. And again,
thank you.
go.fixmyhog.com/misfits. Go get your $3 on your membership. And I'm even going to say, even if you don't ride a Harley, because a lot of this information is going to transfer over on how to do this basic stuff.
Correct. Absolutely.
And just having videos to help you along is really great.
Cool. Well,
so thank you, Dennis.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be able to do it again. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Have a
good night. Nice Vespas.
Thank you.
So
on that note, I got to take off too.
All right.
Well, Douglas.
Yeah, you guys have a good night. Thanks for having me.
See you, Doug.
Yep.
Oh,
see ya.
Jim, that is not
you knob. This is This is my old DR350 engine. That is Emma's artwork. That is Miss Emma's artwork, by the way.
That's great.
Well, no, the only reason I wrote that was because you had done an oil change on your DR350 and forgotten to tighten up the bolts.
Oh no!
Can you see that piston?
Look what you did to that piston.
That's a knob move.
What a complete knob.
Yeah. It's good.
And did you like... God.
That's horrible.
Okay, y'all, simmer down. So I wanted to talk about our next topic, which, as I said, this is controversial, as Emma would say, and everybody has their own opinions, but you know what? This is what we do. I want to talk about, and as a group, if we can come up with a list of the top 10 motorcycles or scooters of all time, Bagel, let's just clarify. Whenever we say motorcycles, we also include scooters, which, by the way, before we go into that, I do want to share, because Bagel, you don't know this, but I got myself in a little, as I do, a little Facebook battle. And I was referred to as a Karen a few times. Yeah. I wanted to share this with you.
Well, who told you to call the cops on?
Well, here's the deal. I like to stand up for the little guy, you know, and there's a lot of just bullying and bashing going on. Oh, yes, I am a basher myself. I love to bash Harley riders, but they're not the little guy. Okay. But here's what was posted on a motorcycle group. And I'm not going to say the group, but somebody posted a thing that said, scooters are for men who want to ride motorcycles, but prefer to feel the wind on their vagina.
That's horrible.
Okay. I was like, this isn't sitting well with me. So I responded. I came out of the gate a little bit strong. I said, this is a bullshit statement. Just trying to bully what you think is a lesser class. I know hardcore scooters that can ride the pants off of most. Respect anything with two wheels. Now, there were also many other people saying, like, I've got a Harley and a scooter. Or, you know, what about all of Asia? You know, there were a lot of people jumping in. I did come in kind of hard, and somebody said, hey, it's just a joke. Actually, I think the poster said, it's just a joke. And I said, my bad. I forgot it's okay to be an asshole when it's just a joke.
Oh, yeah.
And then he responded with, who pissed in your cornflakes, Karen? That was the first one.
And he responded, it was my airbox, not my cornflakes.
And I responded with, ooh, got me where it hurts. Good one. No, I'm just somebody who stands up for the little guy, and there's no need to make fun of scooters. Plus, as a woman who has a scooter in her garage with her other 7 bikes, I'm doubly insulted. But if you want to make fun of Harley riders, I'm in. Which then I was met with, so let me get this straight. When someone comments on something you have or like, it is being a bully or an asshole. If it's something you don't care about, it is fine. Little hypocritical. Karen, if I've ever seen one. So I got called Karen twice in that.
Oh, not exactly what a Karen is, but okay.
I know. So I just want to let you know that I stood up for my scooter peoples.
Well, thank you.
And took a bit of a beating.
Now, I will say that the aerodynamics of a scooter does give a quite a breeze onto the crotch area, but I do not have a vagina, so I don't know what that's like. But yes, it can be quite cooling in the summer breeze.
I will say, if one does want to feel a breeze on their vagina,
ride without pants.
I don't know if this scooter is my first choice. I think I would go with something that you really have to spread your legs far, like a Harley. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, that would definitely give you a good breeze, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go back to
good Harley's good for the vagina. Good for the vajayjay.
Okay, guys, I wanted to work on. Let's come up with a top 10 motorcycles of all time. You think we can do it?
Wow.
Well, I think we can. But in order, because time is quite a premium, we've only got 30 minutes. We need to get the ones out of the way that there's going to be no dispute over. So we'll count them off. And I'm going to start with the Honda Cub or the Passport, whichever you want to call it, because essentially it's the same bike.
Does this include the Super Cub?
All the Cub derivatives.
All the Cubs. Yes, I agree.
Right.
Yep.
So no dispute over that one.
All right.
CB750.
I would agree with that. All right.
Okay, so we're agreeing with the Cub.
Yeah.
We're agreeing with the CB750.
Agreed.
Right. Everyone else?
Well, the Cub, they've sold, what, 70 or 80 million Cubs?
Oh, it's outsold everything else in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes production of the Model T and the Volkswagen Bug put together, you know, it's an amazing thing.
Probably
All right,
the Ford
how about,
Taurus combined.
Black Shadow? Does the Black Shadow make everybody's like top 10 list?
No.
No.
Well, what are we talking
about
about
Black Lightning?
technological
Well, here's the
advancement or
criteria
popularity or
we
what?
kind of came up with is there's, I think, 3 criteria. One is a popular bike, one is technologically advanced bike, and one is a historically significant bike.
Was one important distinction though? Are we limiting these to production bikes?
Good
No.
question.
Because
Race bikes
there's a lot of race bikes and one-offs too.
Right.
No race bikes.
I
No,
like to think of it
because-
as like iconic motorcycles that may have made an impact on the industry.
Right.
And
Maybe
here's the
something
thing,
like that.
there's a lot of top 10 lists, and you can tweak that criteria and it completely changes the list. And so that's why I wanted to just come up with ours using what our criteria is. So Emma, you're saying no to the Black Shadow, because to me that's
Absolutely.
technologically advanced and historically significant.
It's not that advanced.
Okay. At the time, it
It's
wasn't.
Not even at the time. I mean, make no
Okay.
mistake. It's a beautiful motorcycle, and it's beautifully made, and it's beautifully engineered. But at the end of the day, it's a pushrod 1000cc V-twin, and it ain't that technologically advanced. And there were a lot of great things about Vincent's.
Mm-hmm.
Good hydraulic forks, gear primary drives, you know, the gear timing drive, just the way that the push rods operated and the reciprocating mass of the engine was just very, very lightweight. It was wonderful. There's also bloody awful designs. The brakes on a Vincent were terrible, no matter what they did. The clutch on a Vincent is virtually unrideable. You know, they've got this servo clutch. So it's not this, it's a very iconic motorbike, but it's also a deeply flawed motorbike.
Okay.
In terms of, did anyone here used to play Top Trumps when they were young? You know, you'd have the little cards. I don't know if you had this in America. It was a game called Top Trumps.
Oh no, sorry. That was,
Like
I think we
Pokemon
played
or
that
what?
back in the 30s.
Well,
We played Lincoln Logs.
It were these cards, and it had the features of, there were ones for cars and one for motorcycles, and it'd have like top speed, and it'd have horsepower, and it'd have whatever, and you'd kind of play against your friends, and you'd say, I call top speed, because you knew that you were holding the card with the Laverda Jota on it, and the top speed was 153, and that was one of the top ones. So, and there were so many different factors, and the Black Shadow ticks a lot of boxes. It's very desirable. It's very well engineered. It's very valuable. But at the end of the day, there are bikes that are a lot more pleasant to ride.
Emma, I love you dearly.
But
We can't spend 10 minutes on every bike that doesn't make the
Okay.
list.
I'm sorry.
How about I'm gonna and anyone can nominate a bike. I'm gonna nominate the BMW GS1200. I think that the GS1200 was a huge part of the whole adventure thing. It was a great bike. It was a lot lighter than the 1150. They're 12 years old, and they're still holding up to a lot of the stuff that's coming out. I think it helped change the world.
See, I would argue that it was the earlier GS, the 80s one that was the original that created that whole process.
I mean, and I'm kind of with John on that. Do you think the 1200 was sufficiently different to the 1150 to warrant that? Because I've got an 1150 in my garage right now, and it's a bloody marvelous thing.
No, there's a huge difference between the 1150 and the 1200.
All right.
The technology changed.
I'd agree with John too, though, because that was like the first GS model, right? I mean, that really brought
it was
It
started
BMW
the whole segment.
adventure thing. Yeah, so it was the first GS. I would go with the R80.
So I think you're half right, Liza. I think the GS deserves it, but not necessarily focusing on that one.
But I think it's still in there, though. It's still in there.
It's
okay. Meaning there's still a lot of people riding them.
Right. I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. And
Okay.
if Dennis is still listening, it's going to make him very happy.
Oh,
And I nominate the Harley Davidson EVO. And I'll tell you why.
okay.
In 1984, there was this massive shift
Mm-hmm.
that Harley Davidsons went from being a motorcycle that you had to be an enthusiast to own to a motorcycle that anyone can own.
Jim, only if you're going to share with everyone.
Sorry about that.
And do not underestimate how massive that was, because any Harley rider will tell you, and I hope Ricky's listening, the difference between a shovel head and an Evo is night and day. Absolute night and day. They're completely different animals. A shovel head's a fine bike to ride, but to maintain, you really need to be on the ball. The Evo just changed everything.
And I'll
Anyone
agree.
could ride.
Harley Davidson has always had these plateaus and leaps of technology and reliability and all of that completely changed the path that they're on at the time. So yeah, I would agree with that. Bagel, do you want to submit for the top 10 of all time?
I would like to, for the scooter world, I would like to submit the Vespa Rally 200 as quite possibly the best scooter of all time. Now, it's really difficult to give one best scooter of all time when there's a pretty big distinction between vintage and modern scooters. Now, the Vespa GTS 300, I think, is probably a more capable scooter and probably more useful overall. But there's something about a vintage Vespa that is just so much fun. And the Rally 200 was really the pinnacle of vintage Vespas. It had the largest size engine that they ever produced. It's 2-stroke, so it comes with all 2-stroke fun. It still has the old school styling from the 60s era that Vespa had before they went to more modern designs. The P200 that came out in the late 70s was designed by Bertoni and has a lot of straight lines in it, which a lot of people feel really detract from the aesthetic value of a Vespa. So the Rally still has all of the curves from the 60s styling, and even better performance than the P200, which was the model that followed it. They have just fantastic acceleration style, handling. They've got the whole package. So that's the model that I would say is I would put forward as the best scooter of all time.
Okay, I think that's a good one. I wanted to throw in, and this is a toss-up. I think you need to recognize the long distance riding and comfort. And I think the two biggest entries for this one, and Emma, help me out here. I'm between like the Goldwing and the Electroglide.
Goldwing's a better bike.
You think the Goldwing made a bigger difference in like touring? Like,
Yep. Yes, I did.
Oh yeah.
all right.
Yeah, the Goldwing was a huge difference. Not least, you could buy a Goldwing in 1975. In 1975, the Electroglide was still a shovel head.
Mm-hmm.
And as comfortable as it was a product of the previous time. It was the product of the 60s and the 50s and the 40s. It was an evolution of that. The 75 Goldwing was new. And the thing that's clever about the Goldwing is they've constantly updated it.
Yeah.
We've forgotten now, but in 1988, the impact the flat 6 Goldwing made was just amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, would you say that was one of the first bikes that you could reliably put 200,000 miles on?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So to me, that's a huge significant.
Yeah.
And even though, I mean, whether you think of it as a tuner boat or not, they're quite agile. And when you get into the 1800s, in the early 2000s, the style of the 1800s is actually fresh enough that it holds up now. It's hard to believe the 1800s are getting on for 20 years old. But if you see an early 2000s 18, especially in a good color like the candy orange, it looks like a modern bike. It's like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
They're very, very clever bikes. It's a big lump of plastic going down the road. I mean, it's an 800-pound bike, but they just, it's a very, very good bike. And at the end of the day, the electric light's very, very nice, but it's still a big old thumping pushrod V-twin.
All right.
So there's no real comparison. Can I throw another one in?
Hold on, because John raised his hand first.
Oh, John, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So this could be a little controversial, but I'm going to throw out the early 1970s Husqvarna's dirt bikes.
Okay, this is something we were talking about at the garage, and you were not there, John.
I wasn't
Jim and I
there.
were talking
And
about this.
I know John's stealing my thunder.
Sorry, brother. I would
That's
say
all right. There's nothing to be sorry about.
the suspension was light years ahead of other bikes.
Are you talking about the Pentons?
No, I'm talking about the Huskies.
Yeah,
Okay,
like the 400 cross.
The 360 CRs and the 250s and all the motocross stuff, because they specifically suspension was incredibly better, and the way they ported the two strokes gave it a lot of low end grunt that other bikes didn't have at the time.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about that, trying to figure out which dirt bike. Jim, did you come up with some options? Because Husky is one of the ones we talked about.
I was thinking about it, and just to riff off what John said, as you go back to those early Huskies in the late 50s, early 60s, it really redefined motocross. I mean, lightweight bikes, less power, but lightweight, long travel forks.
Yep.
In 59, you had Husqvarna winning motocross races on the new style bike. So those 250 Husqvarnas, I echo John on that. And to take it a step further and a little bit different slant, the 1970 Husqvarna 400 Cross. This is the bike Steve McQueen rode in on any Sunday, right? Which really did so much for motorcycling, and almost as much as the Honda Cup, which would kind of be my first dirt bike choice because so many people did it. But yeah, to echo John, number two, I think for iconic dirt bikes is that 1970 Husqvarna 400. Because it meant so many different things. I think the technology already was there in the early 60s, but that really did so much for motorcycling.
But we also have to consider the most winningest motocross bike.
That's number three on my list after the Cub and the Husky is the 86, 87 CR250R, the Honda. Yeah, that motorcycle run a ton of races.
So Emma, what do you think between like a CR250 and a Husky? What do you think is more significant? Belongs on this top 10 list. I'm kind of leaning towards the Huskies because there was this huge change from going from Harleys to like British bikes to then these bikes that were nimble.
I was going to say, and that's the key point here. I mean, anything that significantly changes the industry.
Yeah.
And the Husky did exactly that.
Changed
Big
the
time.
sport. Yeah.
It changed the sport.
It changed the sport. And it's almost like the technology of the bike drove the sport.
And you haven't seen that much, really change that basic formula since then. You went from two-stroke to four-stroke. You went from air-cooled to liquid-cooled. But it's still kind of the same lightweight,
right.
It's a lot of suspension
less
setup.
weight, more suspension, blah, 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 blah. So, okay, I'll buy into that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw out one more. More dirt bike is a game changer, maybe two.
Okay.
But this is maybe the bike that really that started the dual sporting. So 1968 Yamaha Dt1. Now all of a sudden you can take your street bike and go down the road and have a proper dirt bike as well. So I may be wrong, fact check me, but I think that 68 DT1 was one of the first dual sport.
Well, you had that like the Elsinores, stuff like that. There was that trend
that happened
having a dual sport then. They're all up there. Yeah.
So I'll throw out my last one because like anybody else, you could come up with 1,000 other of these, but I'll just throw out the Honda CRF 450 because that was the bike the first American won the Dakar Rally on.
Yeah.
So I think that new Honda 450 is a cool, iconic bike because you have an American, Ricky Brabeck, win the Dakar for the first time ever. So anyway, that's kind of my rundown on the dirt bike things.
And the 450 is still changing the sport. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
right.
But back to what John said, I think that BMW RS R80
Yeah, Hardy.
I mean, sorry, GSR80. I think that was a huge thing for BMW and
It
adventure
was,
riding.
but it was for the bike, but the trend had not kicked as big as it did with the GS1200, which is why I was going to the
And
GS1200.
arguably because of Charlie.
They were
and
all
you.
big leaps, but
Yeah.
the trend happened then. Emma,
Yes.
you had a bike you wanted to throw in?
Yeah, and I will, and it's kind of predictable. And I really feel I'm betraying my country because you're gonna go back. What about the Black Shadow? And I will compare it, and that is the Honda NR750.
Yeah.
Now, about 6 months ago, this made my list as the most beautiful bike in the world, and
Model
on my
behind me
list.
somewhere.
And so let's compare it to the Black Shadow.
Okay.
And why I'm voting for this and not the Black Shadow. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that I worked at Honda when it was new. So, like the Black Shadow, it's very exclusive. Like the Black Shadow, it's very expensive. Like the Black Shadow, it's very, very well engineered. Like the Black Shadow, it's beautifully built. And like the Black Shadow, there are a lot of very innovative designs incorporated in the bike, like oval pistons, that really died with the model. The NR750 is 30 years old. How many bikes have there been since then with oval pistons? The Vincent Black Shadow, the last Black Shadows were around sort of like 53, 54. So they're now 60, 70 years old. How many bikes with the Gerdrolic forks? How many bikes, with all the innovations that Vincent had? So there were a lot. So they're kind of equal now. Like the Vincent, it's just crushingly handsome.
But what about the R1? I mean, when you look at how
But
they
hang
changed
on.
things in MotoGP, what?
But hang on. Here's the difference.
Okay.
The NR is just such a pleasant bike to ride. It's gorgeous to ride.
But it wasn't
highlight-
approachable for everybody and priceable for everybody. So it didn't have the market impact, did it?
But neither was the Vincent. But the thing is, it was Honda's ego trip. It was everything Honda knew about bikes and screw the expense. Back in 1991, they were £36,000 in England. And I'm going to put that into perspective. In 1991, a Jaguar sedan was less money. A fully spec'd out Jag sedan was less money than an NR750.
Yeah, I would argue that the Interceptor was really the game changer.
Well,
See,
the Interceptor incorporated a lot of the dumbed down ideas, but with just the best motorcycles. And in terms of build quality, what it was, how it looked, just everything. To me, it's hard to beat. The absolute highlight of my motorcycling life has been riding an NR750.
Yeah,
I think it's the most wonderful thing.
I'm going to argue because you can either say either the GPZ or the Interceptors. That huge leap that also created a trend that is still going today in sport.
I
Well,
go
it's
back to the
neither.
KZ1000 then for that.
No, because the GPZs and the Interceptors were these sport bikes.
Wrong bikes. The bike that changed it, and believe me, I was there, was the Gixxer. There was bikes
Gixxer was important.
before the Gixxer 750,
Yeah.
and there were bikes after. That was the bike that changed everything.
That is another
Because
good
if
one.
you look at GPZs, if you
Right.
look at KZ1000s, you look at everything. And then in 1984, there's the Gixxer. The Gen 1, the Slabbies.
Was that the 600? What was this? Or
No,
was that the
750. And then the
It was
1100.
Yeah.
And the 1100 came out. The 750 came out and our minds were blown. The 1100 came out and our eyes just melted in the back of our heads. This performance, it changed everything.
So, but Emma, if we want to have a sport bike that was at the forefront of the whole trend and that was part of that leap in technology, are we going to the NR750 or the Gixxer 750?
no, the Gixxer, in terms of if
Okay.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I agree with that.
The only reason I included the NR is it is arguably the best motorcycle ever made. And
Okay.
I will stand up and argue that it is. However, if we're talking about impact, Gixxer 750 all the
Okay,
way,
I
just because
agree.
of what it did for the industry.
Okay, we need two more for this list, and I don't have an answer to this, but I'm going to ask the question. What do you guys think is the gateway bike? Because there's got to be, I mean, there's so many bikes that are significant and maybe not technologically advanced or anything like that, but that brought so many people into riding.
Rebel 250.
The one you can afford.
So, well, Rebel 250, Trail 70. Emma, you were talking about the Hodaka, right?
The Hodaka Ace
Yeah, I remember
90s and 100s. There's so many people got their start on Hodaka.
So, what do you guys think
So many
is the most common gateway? Because I'm thinking it might even be like a monkey bike,
maybe.
you know,
Well, like a
Some-
rup.
that
like a-
kids
For that
had.
matter, a mini bike.
Right.
I mean, that
That's
was
what I'm
my
saying.
first. Was just like a straight up
Yep.
lawnmower powered mini bike. That was my
Well,
first.
mine was a Trail 70 as a kid.
You
What do
know,
think?
Well, as a kid, yeah, it's whatever a kid can ride.
And
That's-
truthfully, it might not be a single bike. It might be the Rupp mini bike.
Ooh.
You know, if your parents were well off, it might be the Hodaka, brand new. It might be the old guy down the road who had the rusty Triumph Tiger Cub leaning against his shed that you
Right.
got out of him for 10 bucks, pulled the fenders off and rode around the field with your mates.
I have an answer to suggest, and this is a broad answer. I'm going to say, even though we already have the Cub on here, I'm going to say the Honda 70, because that means it could be the Trail 70. It means it could be the XR 70. It could be the ATC 70. The 70s, I think,
Passport.
were the gateway for so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emma, what was that little Honda you had in your shop the other day? Did you have an XR?
No, the yellow one.
Yeah, that little Honda. Did you have a little Honda?
Yeah, the yellow one.
Oh,
Jim.
okay, that one. Yeah.
But no, Jim,
No.
it was a question. The yellow one.
No, not the yellow one at your shop. There was one at your house, a little kid's bike you were fixing up. I thought it was a little
Oh,
Honda.
yeah, the CRF 50.
Yeah. Okay.
So, do you
Yeah,
think?
they've been around for a little while.
What do you guys think
Yeah.
of saying any Honda 70? Because XR 70, the Trail 70, all these 70s. Is that
Yes.
Yes.
okay? So I'm gonna
Totally.
say Honda 70. Okay, we have room for one more. So what do
We
we
haven't
got?
talked about Triumphs at all. The twins.
Well,
Well-
Bagel, what are you going to throw out?
I was going to say there is one motorcycle that I think is iconic that really belongs on the list, and that's the Indian 4. Because whenever, at least in my mind, when I think of a classic bike, I think of that. Because there's nothing that quite captures the sleekness and the swoopiness and the art of a motorcycle, I think, than the Indian 4. It's just such a beautiful bike, and I've never ridden one, but I've heard they're quite comfortable. So, you know, and then they were very popular from what I remember. So
They were very expensive, but
They were.
I think that's a good bike to
maybe-
throw out, but I'm going to counter that and say the Harley Sportster.
Yeah, but you got to go to the Triumph before the Sportster, though,
No,
because
you
the
don't.
Sportster was a response to the Triumphs.
But the
True.
Sportster has been around for decades and decades and decades.
But that parallel twin lasts forever. I mean, that'll never. Even your Africa Twin,
Let's
you
see.
know,
All
has
right,
got.
so we got the Cub because it's the most common in the world. We got the CB750 because that was the first sport bike. We got the GS1200, the Adventure. We got the HD EVO, which is probably the best HD. We got the Vespa Rally 200 for the scooter. We got the Goldwing for long distance touring, the Husky dirt bike for motocross, the Gixxer 750 for sport, and Honda 70 is the gateway. So what is left? What are we missing?
The Z1. What about the Z1?
well, the
What are you talking about?
Z1, I mean, what did we say about the Z1 earlier? I mean, if you
Well, we compared it to the CB750.
But they're very different animals.
Exactly,
I mean,
but that's what we were talking about.
It's a lot more charismatic than the CB750.
So why are we putting the CB750 on a pedestal? I know
because
why,
it's historically significant.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to say for the last slot that we should consider the most butt-worthy bike.
The Britten. I was waiting for this.
The Britten.
I was waiting for
bike
this.
that
the
everyone wishes they could own or ride, or just to fondle.
The amount of drool that was spilled over that bike probably makes it worthy, I would think.
And it's such a great story because we love an underdog story, and we love the idea of an eccentric inventor building a bike and spanking the big boys.
And it's a romantic story. It's a beautiful bike. It made its mark. So I think we have our list. I'm just going to review.
You got to put the Bonneville on there. You're killing me without the Bonneville.
Hold on. The Honda Cub, the Honda CB750, BMW GS1200, the Harley Davidson EVO, the Vespa Rally 200, Honda Goldwing, Husky dirt bike, GSXR750, the Honda 70, any of them, and a Britten V1000. What category is the Triumph Bonneville knock? What does it knock off this list?
The cool category.
The Sportster.
You know what? I'm going to say, sadly, that the Triumph Bonneville doesn't make the list because it is a good, solid bike, much like the KLR 650, much like so many of the bikes.
Blasphemy.
You are killing me.
No,
I can't do it.
No, I'm saying
good God.
these are
Emma
bikes that
have so upset.
that function well. They do the job well. And with the Triumph, it looks good, and it's got some, historical significance, but it's not great.
Oh, I don't. Emma, come on, you got to back
but
up
it's
on that.
Good at many things.
I hate to tell you this, John. As good as the Bonneville is, and they are lovely, it's where you draw the line. The Commando is a substantially better bike.
No, but we're talking about bikes that sort of set the standard and change the industry. And the Bonneville did.
The Bonneville didn't, though. Because when the Bonneville came out, as good as it was, there was the BSA Lightning, there was the Norton Atlas, there was the Aerial Huntmaster, all fine bikes. And I'm not knocking the Bonneville. There's a special place in my heart for every single Bonneville that made it off the line. Every single one. I think that there hasn't been a bike made since that looks like a Bonneville.
I just think if you told someone to draw a picture of a classic bike, it would look a lot like a Bonneville.
Yeah, because
like I said, it's a great bike and does many things well, but it's not great at anything.
All right, I'm sending a protest to Phil at clevelandmoto.com.
I second John's protest because we're not talking about it being great at anything.
Well, tell you what. Hold on.
That's exactly right, Jim.
Wait, everyone calm down. 1 second.
Thank you.
I'm going to say, let's throw this to the Cleveland Moto guys.
Okay.
Let's throw it to Phil and the gang.
So is it Bonneville versus something?
No.
It's Bonneville versus
what's your top 10, guys?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. And what would you take off or, change that's on our list? I want to hear their top 10.
And I don't know that we completely agree on the GS either. I think that
was
not
Liza's GS. I agree with your GS, John.
Right, the 80, the R80 GS.
The 80.
You see, and I really don't feel that the leap between the 1150 and the 1200 is that great.
It was 50 pounds lighter.
Yeah, but it's not
essentially the same bike.
It's not a leap. It's not a leap like the Evo is a leap from the shovel.
It's an iteration.
And I tell you what, I've got a GS 1150 in my garage right now, and God, it's a good bike. It really is. I mean, it's not like if the GS 1150 was a sack of shit and the GS 1200 was everything that it is, your argument would stand up, Liza. But I tell you what, that GS1150 is a bloody great.
Well, it'd be very interesting to look at the sales, which would tell us.
Yeah, but that's only just a snapshot.
Sure. But I'm saying the GS1200, there's so many more 1200s out there in the world than there are.
I would be interested in who was involved in marketing at BMW right around that time.
Yeah.
And I would put money.
I know somebody.
Way around come
I know somebody who can help us.
Right.
So I will maybe send.
I would put money that there was a huge change in direction of marketing, and the bike was pitched in a very.
Hold on. I'm going to try and make a phone call. We'll see if I get an answer.
You're calling Sean.
No, I'm not calling Sean. He is on the road.
No, it's Monday morning in Germany right now. She's calling BMW Motorrad.
Let me see if I can get an answer.
Well, it's 8 o'clock, Liza. We're running out of time, darling.
Hey there, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, we're recording our podcast right now, so you're on with all the gang.
Hey.
And we are having an argument right now that I thought you might be able to help settle. And we're making a list of the top 10 best motorcycles of all time. And we're in an argument about which one of the GSs. We're agreeing that the BMW GS should be on that list as bikes that have made an impact on the world. And which one, though? The GS, the R80, the 100, the 1150, the 1200. Which one do you think had the biggest impact on the industry in the world?
Or which one's just the best?
I'm gonna say the 1200.
Oh!
But Jocelyn,
you heard it from Jocelyn Snow.
Well,
you heard it from Jocelyn. Emma, she can't hear you. She can't hear you.
She's not impartial or anything, is she?
Everyone is yelling at me right now. They're trying to argue, but I don't have her plugged in, so she can't hear you. So we're just going to end it and say, thank you for that input, Jocelyn.
No problem.
That is exactly what I said. The GS1200 was a far superior bike to the 1150, and I believe had many more sales as well.
Or the R80.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of when, the long way around with Ewan McGregor came through.
And the trend happened. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for settling
All right. You guys have a good night.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, you too.
None of that would have happened without the GSR80.
Yes.
But are we looking for the biggest impact or the best bike, though?
Whatever fits Liza's argument.
Jocelyn Snow said the GS1200, so we're going to end with that.
I mean, you wouldn't have the Perry Dakar without the GS with the R80.
Hey. Real quick, next weekend, the One Show. John, you're going to come down and help Douglas run the garage? Yeah. Thank you so much. Douglas will be here to open at 11. We're going to be going to the One Show, and they've really got this, they've got it tight, how they're handling it. So they're selling tickets for just 2-hour blocks. And Bagel, you were looking at tickets. They're sold out of a lot of those blocks already, right?
A few of them were. I haven't checked lately. I was waiting to hear back, see if they can get a press pass. I don't know if that's going to work out, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, we're working on that. What we wanted to do, if there is anyone who's coming to the One Show who would like to meet up with us.
Well, of course they do. So can I take over for a moment?
As
you guide us, Jocelyn. So of course you want to meet the misfits. Why else would you want? You don't want to look at a load of custom bikes. You want to hang out with the misfits. Of course you do. So me and Liza, or should I say Liza, came up with a plan, and I think it's absolutely splendid. What happens when you buy a ticket for the One Show? You get a 2-hour block. And rather than mill around looking for us, here's what we're going to do. Find a pink Honda Goldwing Turbo. It's not going to be hard. At the top of the hour, either one or many misfits will be around the Goldwing.
Yeah.
So we get to meet our friends, and we'll have some swag to give away, and we'll do fun and games. Remember, I want to see Bagel's beard drawn on your face mask. Extra points for accuracy in color and texture. So, top of the hour. So probably, like 55 to 5:10 after. We'll all be hovering around the pink Goldwing. So you don't have to come looking for us. We'll be at my Goldwing, and then we can hang out then, because I know if you only get 2 hours, it's going to go quickly.
Yeah.
So don't waste time looking for us. Figure out where the wing is. Be there at the top of the hour. Meet a misfit and get swag.
There you go. Also, just a reminder that the Santa Cruz Moto Film Festival is happening and tickets are available. And just to let people know, if it's not that clear, this is not a live event here. This is online. It's actually hosted on YouTube, but you still have to register, get passes. The first weekend is free, or if you wanted the extended viewing pass, it's $10. And we just been adding on a bonus thing on the second weekend of the festival. So with your extended viewing pass for $10, we're going to be doing a live Zoom interview with some of the filmmakers.
Wow.
Yes, where you get to do some Q&A.
Wow, what a bargain.
Oh, geez. Yeah, so there's a lot of great films there. One of the ones I just wanted to highlight tonight that I enjoyed, it's called 91. And this one is 1 hour of stress summarized in 8 minutes. And this is, Emma, you might be able to pronounce this better. There's a 24-hour endurance race in France, Bol d'Or? Bol d'Or?
Bol d'Or.
Bol d'Or.
Bol d'Or.
Bol d'Or.
That means golden balls, darling.
And the thing that I enjoyed about this is there's no dialogue, there's no subtitles. It's not really a story so much as they went with this one crew and filmed the chaos in the pit.
Ooh.
In a 24-hour endurance race, and just captured all that tension. So you don't even have to know what's going on. But when you see them like bringing bikes in and doing all the swaps, and then somebody crashed and they got to fix it and get it out, and they just captured that tension. I really enjoyed that.
That's interesting.
So yeah, so that one is called 91, and you can go to Rev Sisters, REV, revsisters.com, and get your passes there to the Santa Cruz Moto Film Festival. We have time for one email before Emma.
I have an announcement too, real quick.
Oh yes, go ahead.
This might be a little silly, but my son's girlfriend came and helped me work on my truck yesterday. I had a bunch of stuff to do, and she is absolutely positively in love with Emma. So he said, please shout out to me on the podcast and tell Emma that I love her.
Oh, good Lord. Well, I love her too, darling. And I just love everybody, but I would love to meet her. What is it? What is the name of this delightful? Sophia, darling, I love you too. Mwah.
All right, we got time for one email, and this one is from...
Skelly loves you too. Yes, I love you too, Sophia.
We got Hey, Bagel, can you make a note to start reminding Emma to take her pills before the podcast? Thank you. This one is from Joel Martin, and he says, Dearest Emma, I've been resto modding, because we covered that whole thing on our show. A 67 Bonneville. There you go. Shout out, John.
Oh, that's a very nice year.
What are your thoughts on electronic ignition and replacing the whole wiring harness and putting LED lights in a stronger headlight? Thanks for the time, darling.
Darling.
Upstate New York.
So yes, gosh.
So
electronic ignition.
67.
Yes, electronic ignitions on a 67 Triumph. Blimey. Yes, that's definitely a great upgrade. Avoid the cheap ones, buy the decent ones. My favorite ignition is made in New Zealand, and it's called a Payson, and they're very good indeed. So buy yourself a Payson. What have you got there, darling?
Finish.
As far as electrics go, really the sky's the limit on them. It's only a 2-phase alternator on your bike, and the alternators are very good. They'll chuck out a lot of current.
Emma, just for the sake of time, can I answer this one?
Yes.
When it comes to vintage British electronics and upgrading them, the answer is always yes.
I
Yes.
don't disagree,
Absolutely.
actually.
Yes, there we go.
Just remember,
Yes.
darling, your triumph is positive Earth,
Oh,
Which-
yes.
I think is a great analogy for the world we inhabit, because we like a positive Earth. We don't like a negative Earth.
That's why Lucas is the Prince of Darkness.
That's right.
So I'm just sharing. Oh, go ahead. Yes. So thank you, Joel. I hope that gives you the answer. Yes.
Can I state something, please?
Yes.
Why do us Brits drink warm beer?
Why?
Because they're Lucas refrigerators.
Yes.
I'm just showing off here my toy that came this week.
That is awesome.
Oh,
California
limited
creation.
edition.
Yeah, limited
The
edition.
limited edition. It smells like bananas.
Very fancy.
Limited
I farted.
edition, all black, Evil Knievel toy that will never come out of the box.
I know you didn't fart, Jim, because you didn't say the word.
Spoiled.
No, not spoil.
I said soiled.
Soil.
Soiled. That's what it
I
was.
was tempted, but they were asking a pretty price for that one.
How much is it?
Yeah.
$70?
Yeah, I think so.
$70. Well, you know,
And
we
you
like.
unwrapped it?
It looks good.
It comes
Yeah.
in a cool box.
You
And it's
unwrapped
got
it?
new ball bearings and everything. It's cool.
It is
It's all
So-
ball bearings these days.
It's
Yeah,
all
it's
ball
all
bearings.
balls. All balls.
Fletch.
Oh, which reminds me. Oh, can I just share the thing I learned about balls?
Oh, good God. Okay.
So there's a new name for them that makes so much sense. I'm now calling them Wonkas.
Wonkas?
Like Willy
Yeah,
Wonka.
Well, because they're right between the Willy and the chocolate factory.
Ah.
Why do I do this? Why do I do this?
That's pretty good.
Embarrassing.
On that note,
Oh God.
I know. I laughed at that one.
everybody ride
Um,
fast and take chances.
I know. I'll have to email Phil and ask them to go over our top 10 lists and see if they can help us out. But of course, if you would
Help us
like
out with
to
some
critique,
jokes.
or if you want to come to John's defense and not and
It
put
was
the
about to
Bonneville
pee your
on there,
pants.
I already have.
I knew you were leaking.
Spoiled.
I'm reminded of a film that was doing the rounds in England back in the 70s called Willy Wonka and his chocolate box. What a children's film!
Oh no.
It was right up there with Bangers and Gash.
I go now.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay.
Again, send your complaints
Wow.
to Phil at clevelandmotor.com.
Send your complaints to Phil at clevelandmoto.com. If you would like to add or tweak or share your opinion on what bikes belong in the top 10 bikes of all time, you can send an email to recyclemotorcyclegarage@gmail.com.
And tell Liza that John was right, please.
Mhm. Yeah. But I think we're ready to wrap. I'm excited about one show and seeing how this goes. So looking
Yeah.
forward to people coming and looking for us there. Don't forget, you got to go up to Bagel and say, "Kiss the ginger, 25 cents." Just like Emma does.
Yeah, blimey, hey.
Kiss a ginger, 25 cents.
That's right. And we will give you things of
Yeah.
value.
Ah.
Scabies.
Well, they're valuable to us anyway.
And if you bring your own air box, Emma would be glad to piss in it.
Oh, absolutely. And you've got a rodent problem. I'll give you $300 for it, and I'm doing you a favor.
There you go. And just a reminder again, big thanks to FixMyHog.com and Dennis for coming on and sharing it. I think it's so cool that he's been doing it so long. You know, I said when I was doing some research, I found his MySpace page, which gave me a clue how long he's been doing it. And I think it's such a great thing that they're making it easier for people to fix their own bike. So go.fixmyhog.com/misfits and get your $3 subscription for a year. That is crazy. $3. I know. So big thanks to everyone, especially our Patreon listeners. You know who you are. Emma, we got some more Ask Miss Emma people this week.
Oh, did we? Oh, God, I need to check that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, not questions, but people on Patreon. I got some of those $10 slots, so that's great. And I think we're ready to get out of here. Thanks, everyone. Thanks again, everyone. This is Karen.
Bagel.
Emma, darling.
Vote for Bonnevilles. This is John.
Naked Jim.
And we are out of here.
Cool.
Oh, you guys so silly.
That was a great topic. We needed like a couple hours for that.